What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Movies That Make You podcast, where movies are more than just entertainment. They're a catalyst for meaningful conversations. I'm Jonathan Sprang, and I go by Sprang. And most weeks we dive into movies to watch in preparation for a new release hitting theaters. But we don't stop there. We talk about the deeper ideas, the life lessons, and the morals that these films have to offer. This week, the 28 series has a new installment coming out. So we're going to be discussing 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later in preparation for 28 Years Later. The Danny Boyle directed film, Cillian Murphy starred in 28 Days Later, is one of those films that just made a huge impact culturally. So we're excited to rewatch those and have that discussion. We hope you'll go check out our website. It's bio.site/movies that make you. There you'll find all of our links to all of our social media channels on YouTube, Instagram, and elsewhere. You can also find our podcast links to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also check out our letterbox, which shows you all of our lists on the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream, and everything in between. Before we dive into this week's episode, though, let's take a look at the next 4 weeks on the Movies That Make You podcast. Next week, we're going to discuss 2 racing movies in preparation for F1 starring Brad Pitt. The 2 movies we're going to watch, Ford vs. Ferrari and Gran Turismo. Both of these deal with the Le Mans, not street racing like Fast and Furious, so we're looking forward to having that conversation. The week after that, we're going to be gearing up for Jurassic World Rebirth. In order to get ready for that film, we rewatched the original Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic World, and Jurassic World Dominion, all in preparation to see the new one starring Scarlett Johansson. We like dinosaurs, and we're looking forward to it. The week after that, it is one of the most anticipated films of the year, and that is James Gunn's Superman. This is kicking off the new DC universe in the films with James Gunn at the helm creatively, and so we're really looking forward to this film. To gear up for that, we're going to watch the first iteration of each of the ones that have been on film. So Superman the movie with Christopher Reeve, Superman Returns with Brandon Routh, and The Man of Steel with Henry Cavill. I really wish he could have stayed as Superman. He was incredible. The week after that, Kristen's going to be on, and we're going to be talking I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is another one of those 90s classics that came out around the same time as Scream, so we just have a lot of fun with those, and looking forward to that conversation and the rewatch. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. We are back with another episode of the Movies That Make You podcast. I am Sprang, and I'm joined by my lovely wife, Kristen. How are you doing today, babe?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We've had a good morning already. Good day, good Saturday. And now we get to talk about movies. So that makes it for a great day.
And we've already seen a movie, so even better.
Yes. We did just get back from seeing The Matrix in the Cosm. Dallas has this thing called the Cosm. There's one in LA, one in Dallas, and we went to see The Matrix there. It's the first time that they've done a film in this format. And it was mind-boggling, jaw-dropping, really immersive. So many of you may have seen the Las Vegas Sphere, where it's like this huge dome that you sit in. So this is like a mini version of that. It's just I don't know. What would you say? How many seats?
Maybe like a half.
Maybe, yeah. So, but they had the film. It was like in like a normal like film space, and then but all around it covering up the entire dome that you're sitting in front of, it was different graphics and visuals to amplify the scene that you're watching. And it was a truly immersive experience, and like smiles and all over the place. So it was good.
Yeah, it was really neat. We got to take my nephew, both of my nephews were there, and Kevin, and then our friend Doug. So that was really neat to experience it with them. I've just never seen anything besides the IMAX in Fort Worth. This was the next level. Just the clarity, the interactive outside of a traditional screen. I mean, you're like looking completely to the other side of the wall, and things are happening that are happening in the movie. So just so cool. And then they have other shows that are coming up, like Cirque du Soleil. They've got like a surfing one. They've got one about microorganisms. So very, very neat. If y'all are in the area, you want to check it out.
Definitely in LA or Dallas area, check it out. The movie was fairly expensive. That there's tiered pricing based on where you're sitting, but then the other stuff that's more like nature based wasn't as expensive as it was to see The Matrix. But the space really also, they do regularly scheduled sports events, UFC or NBA games or soccer games or, anything that's like happening in whatever season, they kind of have the tickets there as well. And so you can sit and just be like you're sitting courtside, just really huge screen, just takes up your entire peripheral vision.
So
So
cool.
it was awesome. A little plug for Cosm Dallas. You can sponsor us anytime you want. That'd be awesome. I will tag you in this video on Instagram 100%. But yeah, great experience, and really, really fun.
And there's lots to do out at Grandscape. I mean, after the movie or the show or whatever, tons of restaurants or bars or activities, huge Shields sporting goods store where, I mean, they have like stuffed animals, right? Like literal,
Yeah.
what is that called? Epidermy.
Yeah.
No.
Epidermis is
I know.
Taxidermy. There
Taxidermy,
it is.
that's it. But yeah. So anyways.
Yeah. They had they have an indoor putt-putt place and then an outdoor putt-putt place. So
and a giant Ferris wheel.
Yep. Yeah. It's in the Colony, so just north of Dallas. Lots of crazy stuff there. There's a Portillo's there. For those of you that like to get a Italian roast beef or Italian beef, not roast beef, Italian beef sandwiches or Chicago dogs. Funny story, the first time I ever had a Chicago dog was at Sonic, because they did like a big push to like do like all these different styles of hot dogs, because they have the Coney, which is like Coney Island chili cheese dog. But then they were like, hey, here's 4 others. Here's the classic hot dog. Here's the Chicago dog. And I think there were 4. They had a special a few years ago. Chicago dog is still on the menu. All the other ones, except for their regular Coney, is not on the menu. But that's the first time I had one. So imagine my delight when I actually had a Chicago dog and was like, oh no, that's even better. That's,
this is real. I remember when they had that. I'm not a fan of hot dogs, but I actually really enjoyed it because I think it's not the traditional mustard and ketchup. No, they have like pickles and one had some peppers. And so, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, the Chicago dog has this a half slice of tomato in it. It's got a sweet relish. It's got a dill spear, like a dill spear. It's got the peppercino peppers, the little tiny yellow ones on it, and onions. And I mean, it's just like, what in the world's going on? And it also is usually served on a poppy seed bun. I can't ever find those, so when I try to make them at the house, I have to do it just with a regular hot dog bun. But it's crazy, but it's good. So other than today, how was your week?
Week was good. It was pretty busy. Had a busy month end for May with closings, and just starting the June strong. We've got a vacation planned starting next Saturday, so really excited about that. We're going to Branson with my dad, stepmom, sister-in-law, and stepbrother. So that'll be really fun with the kids, and we've never done a trip with them before, so they'll get to be immersed in all the busyness of our children. So really looking forward to it, though. We're going to go to the aquarium. And then also, I think there is some zip lining over the Ozarks. So really excited about that, just being outside.
Yeah.
You don't get outside very often when you work from home. So
yeah, for sure.
How about you?
Yeah, it's going to be good. Yeah, week was good. Busy at work. I feel like the podcast is kind of on like a good rhythm. With the summer, we got the boys watching a movie a day. So that's fun for me to get them in that. And for this summer's highlight, last summer was Fast and Furious. This summer is X-Men, because Marvel is about to kick off some of their X-Men stuff in the next year or so. I think they're going to be teasing it in some of these movies this year. So in order to get the boys to where they understand the characters somewhat, I wanted to let's get X-Men. There's 10 films in the Fox X-Men universe. So wanted to get them acclimated to that. We're taking out the rated R movies. So Logan and the 3 Deadpool movies aren't counted in that, but the X-Men centric, the Wolverine movies that came out will be included in that. The one. And so they seem to like it. Okay. It's hard to tell because they're just sitting there being quiet. And I don't know that they want to watch a movie during that time. But
they planned the schedule, so
I know they can't complain. Yeah. So
I think they seem to enjoy it. It's kind of whenever you have your mindset. For me, I think we watched these before Marvel, right? Or were
It was
they
around
kind of
this.
tandem?
Well, it kind of in tandem because you'd seen, of course, Thor and watched a few of the other Marvel movies, but yeah, I wanted to kind of share X-Men with you, and you actually liked it
Yes, I
the
really,
best.
really
Yeah.
liked X-Men. I thought that all the different qualities that these, mutants have, and then just that interesting part where being able to bring them into the regular schools, and people protesting because they don't want their kids next to mutants. Well, there's nothing wrong with them. They're people too. So that just that debate was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and even watching it now is really interesting because it's still relevant. I mean, the X-Men was written in the time of like the civil rights movement. And so it was really Malcolm X and Martin Luther King are displayed in this comic as Magneto and uh, Professor X. It's kind of they're kind of the inspiration for these characters, and how do people they were both approaching equality in two different ways, and same way Magneto and Professor X are trying to approach equality and approach um, society in the same opposite way of one wants to use violence, one is going to use trying to use diplomacy and use like love and let's do everything with peace. So it's definitely a very interesting dynamic. And then you add that into anything. I think, anything socially that wants to be kind of put to the side or no, they shouldn't be here or whatever. It just allows it to be told in a story that's relatable or approachable because you're dealing with something that's fantastical, but
Hmm.
it also helps you see life in a different way. And so it'll be fun to talk about that. We're going to do the big episode at the end of the summer on the X-Men, and I'll be able to talk to the boys about those types of themes and kind of hear what they thought and what they felt about those characters, and then say, okay, well, how would we see this in our real life? Maybe we don't have mutants in our life, but do we have people in our world that feel like they're, kicked out or they're pushed to the side? How should we approach them? So
Yeah,
looking forward to that
exactly.
conversation. Um, Actually making them take notes because last year they forgot half the movies,
Well,
except that we watched them all and they all got jumbled together because they watched them all in 1 week last year, the Fast and Furious movies.
and they all pretty much are, the same thing. Cars, fast,
Yeah,
stories,
yeah,
getting sillier as you go on, but they're still fun.
yeah, yeah. So I wanted to make sure that they knew, like, when we get to the point, like, hey, what was your favorite part, that they had written it down. Um, so yeah, so that's gonna be fun. And then we're also gearing up for some of the other movies that are coming out this summer. Lots of really good movies coming out. And kind of speaking of, 28 Years Later is coming out this Friday. And so we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about not just the 28 series, but also just zombie movies in general, because there are two movies that came out before this in the series. One from 2002, which is 28 Days Later, and then
2007.
28 Weeks Later came out in 2007. Um, we're gonna talk about those movies, but then we're also, before we get into those movies, I wanted to talk through just some zombie stuff in general. So, what was your first kind of experience with zombies?
My first experience with zombies, I think, was I Am Legend with, I just said it, but
Will
it,
Smith.
Will Smith. Thank you. I'm like having a blank with his name. Um, Getting to see that, I don't recall if they really show the zombies or if it's more of just the fear because we know that this infectious disease came out and people started changing. And I think you would have to like show a light in their eyes. And if it did a different color or something, then you would know that you're safe. But then they just start taking him down. And then, of course, he has a dog. He's got a beautiful German Shepherd that has been with him throughout the whole trip when he had to leave. And then all of a sudden, the dog gets bit trying to save him. So he has to kill the dog, which was awful. But it was a really good movie. It was very scary, but I really liked it. The only other zombie esque would be maybe when we watch some scary movies. Um, Kind of when we first started dating, I didn't, you know me, I didn't really get into zombie things, apocalypse, until we met.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, for sure. Um, and I think, I mean, I don't necessarily know when I first kind of heard of zombies, but it's always been there as like um, you know what I think? Well, Frankenstein isn't a zombie, but like I think about the Munsters, the TV show, The Munsters, and that Frankenstein is that like kind of Frankenstein. One guy, it looks like Frankenstein. So that's not necessarily zombies, but oh, I think the Thriller music video, right? Like zombies are a part of that Thriller. So growing up, that was a part of it. And I think always having this idea of like brains, brains, that's always been somewhere in our like cultural zeitgeist. It's just everybody knows, yeah, that's a zombie. If you just said that, if you just did that, everybody knows it's a zombie. And I don't exactly remember when I first saw a zombie movie, but you bringing up I Am Legend is very interesting because I Am Legend was a novel that George A. Romero read that inspired him to write his screenplay and to create his movie, The Night of the Living Dead. So zombies on film, the first time we ever saw them on film was Night of the Living Dead. George A. Romero created this inspired by I Am Legend. And I don't know if in I Am Legend they are zombies because this predates the zombie being a thing. So but it was some sort of creature, some sort of
Yes.
virus, some sort of thing. And then he kind of took that and ran with it. The thing I really like about Night of the Living Dead, and we had this actually in our conversation a few months ago when we were kind of doing our top 5 black-led horror films. I had it on my top 5 list because the main lead actor is black, and he saves a white woman in the first scene, and then is kind of helping this whole group try and survive the night. But it's interesting that I Am Legend was the inspiration for Night of the Living Dead. And I think when I saw I Am Legend, I thought it was more vampires. You only see one, I think, the entire movie, like at the end when he can't be in the light. So I think in my head, I thought he was a vampire, but it's a,
Yeah, no, I really don't think they're vampires. I hear what you're saying, but I think they're humans that have mutated
yeah, for
and they're
sure.
attacking.
Yeah. And then Will Smith has to try and survive. And then at the end, he finds a safe, or he hears about a group or whatever, and he finds the group, right? So there was actually 2 endings to that film. They actually shot one ending that was on the Blu-ray release. You could see the alternate ending, and I think it ends and he like kills himself because he like there's nothing left for him in the world.
Right.
Very dark ending. So let's make it happy. Okay, so he finds a group and he's saved. Yay!
Yay!
I really like that movie. It reminded me a lot of Castaway because it's Will Smith alone for like 95% of the movie. It's just him, and he does a really good job in that setting. I remember the mannequins he set up around town so he could talk to them and act like, so he could feel like he's socializing and just try and help his psyche. And of course, he had the dog, and that was a very interesting movie. It'll be fun to watch that one with the boys because I think it's PG-13.
It will be. Yeah.
So
And then we should also do iRobot. So we'll have like
we can
Will
do Will
Smith
Smith.
movies that way. Oh, and
That
then
would be
Men in
cool.
Black.
There you go.
There
You
we
nailed
go.
it. Yep.
Yep.
Got a AI movie, a zombie movie, and an alien movie. There you go. It's the Will
Got 'em
Smith
covered.
trilogy. Yep. And then Bad Boys. No, maybe when they're older. So it's interesting too for me. One of the other the movie, so he did Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero did, and then he did Dawn of the Dead a few years later. And then I think the first time I saw Dawn of the Dead was actually a remake that Zack Snyder did. And Zack Snyder's most known now for his failed Snyderverse with the DC movies, where he did the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and then Justice League, and then he got taken off of Justice League, and then things kind of fell apart. But anyway, so that's where but his Dawn of the Dead is really, really good. And Dawn of the Dead is basically about consumerism. The humans are trapped in a mall, and the zombies are still like trying to come in because that's what they did. We're all just zombies going to the mall, buying stuff, going home, coming back to the mall, buying. It's like he's using these as commentary for how he sees America. And so that's one of the cool things about the George A. Romero ones. And I think Zack Snyder's does come across fairly well in that same vein, that same respect. But really good movie. And definitely, if you haven't seen it, I would watch both of them. Kind of get George A. Romero's original vision, and then see Zack Snyder's, because it's a solid remake for sure.
Highlight for the 1990s. Who goes to the mall anymore? Not many
Right?
people.
I know. It's a what do they call that? Like a
Period piece.
yeah, period piece, or like the time capsule, a time capsule of, yep, this is what life was like back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting too. We had a show called The Walking Dead that really kind of took the world by the throat, basically, bit their throat, turned us all into zombie lovers. 2010, based off of a graphic novel, but the TV series ran all the way through 2022. So 12 seasons, a lot of movies, and like I think there's like 5 or 6 spin-off shows that are within this world. And I think for me, what's interesting about zombie movies and zombie TV shows is really what you're dealing with is not so much the zombies. The zombies are one part of it. And I think the initial Night of the Living Dead, the zombies were the main fear. But when they're trapped in that house, they also have all the things that they fight in fight. So it's the humans, the living people that you actually have to be afraid of as well. And so I think that's a really interesting take. And Walking Dead did it very well.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Walking Dead series, but I think I would like it. I really am enjoying The Last of Us, which also surprised me that I liked it so much. I think it's just that humanity story of people surviving, and it kind of honestly takes me back to COVID, how
Mm.
you're secluded to yourself and there is something out there, and so you have to survive, and you changed your way of life completely to meet that change. So but with I know the mushroom people aren't zombies, but they're still pretty scary, so
Yeah, it's still like the mushrooms are just taking over their body. And I think that's interesting. But and they move very much. The fear is still the same. You could sub
Mhm.
out zombies and the story would still be very much applicable. And I think too, the interesting thing about, spoiler for season 2, but it's now airborne also. So there's this one group that has it kind of trapped in a building, and they've sealed off the doors so that it can't get out, but it's airborne now. So that for the next season, I think is going to be super scary, because then how do you get away from it?
Right.
And I don't want to give away anything about this from The Walking Dead, but I remember watching it. There is a very pivotal moment that shocked everybody, and so we'll get to that when we watch The Walking Dead, and we'll do a special episode. I'm sure we'll talk about zombies again before this is all said and done. One other zombie movie I did want to mention is Warm Bodies. So Warm Bodies stars Nicholas Hoult and Teresa Palmer. John Malkovich is in it as well, but Nicholas Holt's character is a zombie. He saves a still living girl from attack, but then the two form a relationship that sets motions that he might be able to become living again. So see, love conquers all. Even turns a zombie back to life.
It does
So
conquer
that's
all.
interesting.
And I'm looking through these zombie movies, and I just haven't seen like any of them.
What are some that pulled up?
31, Cooties, Die Alone, Overlord.
We saw
We
Overlord.
did
That's the
see
one that was
Overlord.
set in World War II, and
Yeah.
they were basically like Hitler was trying to develop some super soldiers and ended up making zombies instead, and the young group had to try and get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of other big zombie films that are cool. One of them is Zombieland. Zombieland is Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, Abigail Breslin, and Jesse Eisenberg, and it's more of a comedy, and it's very funny comedy. But it's just they kind of form this little ragtag group because they're trying to survive the zombies. So that's another one. That's a funny series. There's 2 in that, and then I think the other one that comes to mind for me that really hit it big is World War Z, with Brad Pitt, and that's a lot more serious. and the zombies in that one are like swarming. So it's a different level of like where the original zombies were very slow moving. The World War Z zombies they're running after you. So super scary in that respect. And there's one scene in particular from the trailer where the zombies are like trying to stack on top of each other to get to a helicopter that's taking off. So I mean, it's like really trying to amp up the fear of that. But then one zombie movie that we did see was Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
And you liked that one, right?
I did. I did. And I think what I really enjoy about these zombie movies is it creates different pairs of people that you wouldn't necessarily think they go together, whether it's, a dad and a daughter, or, two neighbors that are just, maybe they didn't like each other, but now they have to work together. And so it creates those situations where humanity has to survive. And so you're going to do whatever you have to do to make it.
Yeah, for sure. I really liked Shaun of the Dead. It took me by surprise because it's a comedy where the whole town is becoming zombies. The opening scene is him leaving his house and walking to the store and getting stuff and going home. Well, the next day it's the same scene, but now there's the whole world is now zombified, but he doesn't even notice because he's a zombie going through the motions. And then he comes back home and realizes, oh my gosh, like there's people that are coming after us, and we have to find our family and try to save but it's straight comedy. And then there's also these very touching moments where they have to really decide, like, no, he's bit. I've got to shoot him because otherwise we're all in danger. So it's like it's this layer of comedic is the foundation, but then it's got this heart and this layer of seriousness that it addresses. It doesn't just stay in that kooky, like an Adam Sandler movie might stay in that kooky world the entire time. It does address some things in real life. I did want to bring up too, because that's Edgar Wright's first film, and Edgar Wright has now done a bunch of films. Simon Pegg. This is where I first saw Simon Pegg, who played Benji in the Mission Impossible series.
Okay, yes.
And then his buddy Nick Frost, and the three of them have like a trilogy of movies that they've done. Shaun of the Dead was the first one, and then they did another one called Hot Fuzz, which is basically like a 90s cop movie, like buddy cop film, but like set in like their security guards and they're dealing with senior citizens, and like something's going wrong, and so then they've got to take down the bad guys. So it's this funny kind of 90s cop film, but in a weird setting. And then he's got the last one in that trilogy is called The World's End. They're going on this bar hopping thing, and it ends at the World's End bar, but then there's something else going on in the town, and they have to try and survive it. So that's actually called the Cornetto trilogy. 3 different type of classic styles of movie: a zombie film, a cop film, and then let's say alien film for the World's End. So it's like, but it's in this weird, interesting, very English setting where makes for really funny humor. He also has a really interesting way of editing. Edgar Wright does, where he does a lot of like close-ups, like they're making coffee, and he does close-ups and fast cuts of like I'm pouring, turning on,
sure.
click, drip, then pour, and then he's drinking the cup. But it's like he does that with very simple things like turning on the car. It's like door slam. It's just fast cuts that just add this layer of energy to his films that are fun. He also was supposed to direct the first Ant-Man film, and then he stepped away because Marvel was kind of dialing in their style, and Edgar wanted to kind of do his style, and they're like, well, that's not really going to jive with us. So that's another zombie film that we've seen together, and I think there's some good ones out there. There's obviously there's some bad ones out there too that aren't great, but I think we'll have some fun with that in the years that we have left. Watching zombie films will be fun. It does have I Am Legend in here in the zombie list, so that's
nice.
Cool. Yeah. I actually going through Vudu, like Vudu was an app that you could buy movies from, and now it's been bought out by Fandango, so now it's called Fandango at Home. I still call it Vudu, but I bought a set because sometimes they'll put fun movies together in like a set. I think it was 4 movies, but but it was I haven't watched all of them, but one of them was Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, and then Juan of the Dead.
Oh
And
my
so I
goodness.
want to. So I'm like, I'm going to tell Kevin one of these days, maybe for October this year, we can do a marathon and just do those 3 films and just have it a zombie day. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be fun. I wonder what kind of
Yeah,
food you'd make.
definitely tacos for Juan of the Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Some
I mean, yeah, we got to come up with some flesh, some
mhm.
dead flesh looking food. I don't
Some
know.
jelly rolls.
Roast beef. Yeah. Italian beef, it looks like,
Oh,
shaved
yeah.
shaved flesh.
With some hot sauce on it.
Yeah.
Bloody
Yeah, that'd be
shaved
good.
flesh. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Look what you've
Look how
turned
far
me
you've
into,
come.
man. I'm
It's
just kidding.
amazing. I mean, Game of Thrones, right? Like Game of Thrones. So there's zombies too, zombie-esque,
Yeah.
like the Night Walkers.
Yes. I love Game of Thrones, friends. It's so good. Oh my gosh. We're rewatching it. So
Yeah.
when we first started watching it, it's a lot of blood, and that's not my jam. It's still not. So I kind of won't watch all of this stuff, but the storylines and the families, really, really, really cool. And all the costumes and just
hmm
especially the map
Yeah.
at the beginning, like the opening, so you know what countries we're going to. And yeah. But
Yeah,
Bella
it's
was in that
amazing.
too.
She was. That was her. That was what put her on the map. Was she was incredible in that, playing a young queen that was from the north, and she was there to support. I think it's that point she's supporting Sansa Stark as Queen of the North. But yeah, crazy, crazy good actor. And I think some people are just maybe they don't like her as an actor, and so they're also some of them are just comparing her to the video game, and it's like you can't do that. Like, yes, it's nice that there's they can do some side by sides, and I've seen a lot of those, and that's really cool to see. Like, hey, this is how it looked in the game. Here's how they remade it for the show, and that's cool. But as far as the characters look and the characters, like, you've got to just let them pick the right actress. They felt like this was the right actress for this role, no matter what she looks like. This is the important. We want a good actor in this role, and she's great, and so we're going to go with that. And I think that's just part of it.
And I think it kind of can tie to a book. You fall in love with this book
hmm
and then it's made into a movie and they don't align with what you thought, but they can both be
hmm
good. They may not just be the
Yeah,
same. It's a different art, different form of art.
absolutely. Speaking of other pieces of art and books, there's a pretty famous book out there called Pride and Prejudice, written by Jane Austen. And there's another writer that took that and added zombies to it. So now it's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. That was a book that was kind of playing with the characters from Jane Austen novel, but kind of doing a fun thing with it, adding a twist to it that they have to fight zombies. So her and Mr. Darcy are now joining forces to fight zombies to save their families, but also fall in love. And then that actually got turned into a movie as well, starring Lily James. So that's a lot of fun, So seeing it jump from the Jane Austen novel to being a kind of a remake and a remix, and then that's actually a book. So we can watch Pride and Prejudice and then Pride and Prejudice and Zombies as a nice 1-2 punch. That'd be
I
fun.
like it. It's good.
And then just a movie called Zombies, because
Hmm.
it's the
Wonder what that's about.
no.
No.
Think of like a band. Oh, the White Zombies. There you go. That's the band name. Or Rob Zombie. There you go. You
Could
could
be
add
that
a
too.
Rob Zombie film in there. Well, cool. Well, let's. I think zombies are a really fun character in movies. They come at us in different ways. Um, there's viruses, and if you get bit or this or that, like there's things like that. They are created in different ways. So in this one, in 28 days, let's go ahead and jump into the 28 series. Just speaking of, I saw a funny meme this week that was, I wonder how this trilogy got put together. And it was Sandra Bullock, 28 days, and then 28 days later, and then 28 weeks later. It's like, man, this trilogy is crazy because the second one comes out of nowhere.
That's good.
um, but yeah, so 28 days later, directed by Danny Boyle. He's done a lot of good films. I think this was one of his first, if not his first, feature film. but he is a great director. Lots of cool things. 127 Hours, Slumdog Billionaire. He won the Academy Award for. But this was his first one. Also, Cillian Murphy. I think he had been in one other film before this, but Cillian Murphy very early in his career, and now he's won an Oscar for
Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer.
right?
Yeah. And so 28 days later, it starts, and the reason that the zombies are here is because they're doing testing on different viruses and things on chimps in a lab, and some people break in there to try to save the chimps. But when they do, the chimp bites one of them, and then that causes the zombie outbreak, and that was day one, and then it basically cuts to Cillian Murphy's waking up in the hospital, and the whole world is just gone.
Gone.
Like there's nobody on the streets or anything. He meets a couple people, and then they kind of lead him to this. They basically follow around each other and try to find places to go. They find another family that's living in an apartment, and then they're going to go try to find a base where there's people there that can help them. When they get there, the base is not run by very good people. They're soldiers, but they're basically using their power to take what they want, and ends up being a bad place to be. So Cillian Murphy ends up saving the girl and destroying, letting zombies out into their house so that they can all die too. So that's basically kind of the 28 days later stuff. But what was your take on when we saw it the first time?
I thought it was really well done. I really liked the story. I thought Cillian Murphy did a great job with his performance. He looks so young, so that was kind of fun. I was like, hold on a second. It has like a little bit older look, and I wonder if that's just because of when it was released. I don't know. Some movies can be released back, whatever, 2002, and they still look current. This one does look a little aged, like you watched it on a VHS. So that maybe like that filter. I'm not sure if that was on purpose. It would have to be. But it same thing, like the characters as they go through, and like I said, the odd pairing where him and this girl, I don't think they would have normally hung out together, but they ended up being put together, and so they have to make it out. And for the fact that they don't even really like each other, but he still just saves her because you want to help a human.
Yeah,
Help a
absolutely.
human. There we go.
Yeah, the other actress name is Naomi Harris, which I think I'd seen this movie, but I didn't connect the dots. But I remember her from, she played Moneypenny in the Daniel Craig Bond films, so that's where she kind of got that franchise in there. And then also the dad that they meet up with later in the movie is Brendan Gleeson, which really surprised me because I felt like he was a pretty solid actor. He already had a career going, but it was cool to see him pop up into this film. He's been in films like Calvary. He was in that one that was about the priest that the guy said. Well, I don't want to give it away, but just go watch Calvary. It was good, really good movie. In Bruges is another one. The Banshees of Inisherin, which I haven't been able to see yet, but it was up for Oscars. So Brendan Gleeson is out there. He's been doing a lot of things, Paddington 2, things like that. But Naomi Harris, and then Christopher Eccleston played the major that was the head of the army base, and I recognized him from, he was the bad guy in Gone in 60 Seconds, the mob guy that was holding the brother hostage and needed all the cars by the end of the night. And then he also popped up later. We just saw him in True Detective season 4 with Jodie Foster, and he's the police chief there too. So that's one of the fun things about seeing these older movies, kind of rewatching them, is you do get these, oh yeah, they've been in all these things, but when they were in this, they were like nobody knew them. So that's a lot of fun to see as well. I did want to bring up too, it was written by Alex Garland, who has now become a writer, director, all that stuff. But one of the big movies that he wrote, Ex Machina,
Oh, yeah.
about the AI robot that's trying to, the guy that created her is trying to test her to see if if she can pass as a human. That was a really good one. Most recently, he directed Civil War, which came out last year, and that was really powerful movie. And then he also wrote and helped direct Warfare, which came out this year, which was actually, he co-wrote it with an actual soldier that was in the battle that they're retelling, and they did it exactly using even the timestamps of the attack and of the battle and of the escape. They did the whole movie just like it happened in real life, from their memories. So I haven't seen that yet. I was nervous to see that because I just like, that's just like so
So
nuts.
real.
Yeah,
And I feel
it
like
definitely hits on a different level.
when it is that real and you know people have gone through it, it takes it to a different level. Like this, unfortunately, before COVID, I would have thought this can't happen, but I mean, now that that has occurred and a global pandemic, to me, this could happen. And so I think it increases my fear of something, what do you do in the case? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just kind of thinking through that and like, what would I do in this situation? I'm not sure, but let me come up with a plan. Always have a plan. So you're prepared.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I really liked the movie as well. I think it was a solid film, really fun. And to the look of it, I'm with you. And I think part of that was, like you said, on purpose. He definitely wanted to give it that raw feel. And probably because it was a early in his career, he was probably using older cameras and older equipment because he didn't have the more modern stuff because that he couldn't afford it or something. So there could have been some of that played into it, but I think it plays well because it makes it feel more scary,
Mm.
more dire because it
Visceral.
looks older. Yeah, that's a great word. So yeah, so 2007 we get 28 Weeks Later, and that was directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, and it stars Jeremy Renner, Rose Byrne, Robert Carlyle, and others. This one definitely, basically, is more of an episodic, no, not episodic, more of an anthology style because whereas some sequels will kind of pick up where the characters left off, this one doesn't. This one's like, no, this has happened, but it happened over here with this group. Now, this movie, 28 Weeks Later, this is what happened with this group. So you get a whole new cast of characters. Robert Carlyle plays a dad who is living in a community where the outbreak has already happened, but it's still early on. They're still have their friends and their work. They're eating a meal together, but then a zombie gets in, so he's trying to escape and ends up leaving his wife uh, to be bitten by a zombie. He escapes. Thankfully, he had his kids. Go
I
ahead.
know yes, the zombie got in, but she had let him in. I think it was a child, and she let the child
Oh,
in. And
let the
so I
child in. Yeah,
think he was mad at her, one, for letting this child in, two, then he's like, you did this. So I don't necessarily know, but I mean, for him to leave without
right.
her.
Yeah, and his kids were staying with a friend, and so then we pick up after that. We pick up like 28 weeks later. The kids come to. They basically have stopped the zombie outbreak, and so now they're reopening parts of London for people to come back home. So that's kind of where we end up picking it up 28 weeks later. And the kids come back and they're like asking dad about mom, and he's lying to them, saying that she got bit and he couldn't do anything about it. And so that happens. But then come to find out, she was immune because she had gotten bit, but she did not die. And then she shows up later. The kids are kind of turds. They get out of the safe zone and try to go back to their house, and then of course that causes problems. And now we've got zombies, and then now the zombie outbreak is back thanks to these kids
Black.
for ruining it all for everybody. Uh,
Well, yeah,
so
and then with the wife, where she comes back into it, and with her being immune, she's she still has the virus.
right,
It just doesn't affect her, so
right,
she
and
can
so
give it to
she
other
kissed.
people.
So her husband came in and she let him kiss her, and then like the director zoomed, like really got a close up of that saliva connecting their lips, and you're like,
Yeah,
yeah, he's a goner. He's
he's
a goner, but
done.
she did it on purpose because he left her for dead. So, that's a really good relationship,
Lots of love.
lots of love. So Rose Byrne plays a kind of a soldier type character that's in charge of this kind of reopening of the city. Jeremy Renner plays an American that's basically the American troops have come over to try to help them reopen the city, and they're basically snipers on top of roofs taking out the zombies, and he ends up not shooting somebody because he realized that they were not zombies, so he joins them, and then now there's like a group of them that are trying to escape the city, get somewhere safe, and all that stuff. So very interesting.
Yeah, the story was really neat.
Yeah, I thought the story was really good. Couple of call outs. Of course, we know Jeremy Renner from the Marvel movies. Catherine McCormick I recognized from Braveheart.
Yes.
And Brendan Gleeson from the last movie was also in Braveheart. So there's this connective tissue there. Catherine McCormick played the wife, his wife that got killed, that makes Mel Gibson's character turn on the English, basically destroying them as best he can because they killed his wife. Also has Idris Elba in it, and so we know him from other things as well. Most notably for us,
The Wire.
The Wire, yeah. Stringer Bell, man, what a great show. Yeah, so Rose Byrne, we know her from Bridesmaids. I know her from there's a show called Glenn Close was in it. Damages that I really liked, but she also has played in the Insidious films. She played the mom in the first two Insidious films. So
yeah, she's a great actress. I really enjoy watching her stuff. I mean, especially Bridesmaids, hilarious. I laugh at the same parts every single time I see it. I don't care how funny. It's just amazing. I thought the kid acting wasn't as great. I mean,
yeah.
Now that I've seen all these movies over the past however many years, I really kind of analyze the child actors and how believable they are. And these two weren't great, but that's fine. It may have been early in their career. Overall, I did like the story.
Yeah, I enjoyed the story too. Yeah, I think the brother in particular wasn't great. I didn't think the sister was all that bad, but they're coupled together, so you kind of get both of them. She's actually gone on and done some other movies. One of the ones that popped up that I really like is called Green Room. It's a horror film where they're stuck in a nightclub called the Green Room, and there's stuff happening. They got to try and escape. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, 28 Weeks Later is in her top 4. So good for her.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this new one coming out. It'll be interesting to see 28 years later how it is affected and things have changed. So that should be fun.
That's a really interesting idea, I think, because you've got 28 days later. That was analyzing pretty early on in the zombie outbreak. 28 weeks later, it's like, hey, we solved it. We solved it. It's fine. Everything go back to normal. And then it's not. And now it's lasted this long, and they haven't been able to get rid of the zombie outbreak. So pretty intense, pretty powerful. I will say too that this is actually going to be a part of a trilogy. So this is the first of a new trilogy that's happening. So 28 years later, and then there's 2 other movies planned that are all 28 years later following different characters. And I heard that Cillian Murphy is going to be back for one of those. So he's not in this one, but this one has Ralph Fiennes in it. It's got Jodie Comer in it. It's got Aaron Taylor Johnson in it as some of the main leads. So looks very good. Just visually it looks good. The trailer, so scary with that soundtrack. Like it's just eerie the whole time, with the voice talking and then just the strings just being aggressive. Like it just insane. And it'll be fun to see kind of where is the world at 28 years later. So that's pretty fun. I wish they should have timed it better, because they're a little ahead of 28 years later. I mean, first one's 2002. So they should have waited to 2030 to do it, but
here we are. But I did want to share, though, the past 2 weekends. So first we went to a Frightmare Fest, and so neat. Y'all, if you ever get a chance to go, do it. Be prepared to wait in line though on Friday night, just because you have to wait to get your wristband, and then you get in, and then you don't have to wait, as much the next day. But oh my gosh. So all these actors, from Linda Blair was there. We didn't actually get to see her, but I mean, they were all just sitting in this room, and I've never seen anything like that. And then all the different vendors have all this just fun stuff, fun merch. There were authors, artists, musicians. We got to hear the director and then the soundtrack from the Texas Chainsaw
Yeah,
Massacre.
Director of photography and the sound designer. Yep.
Yes. And that was so, so cool. And then also just getting to hear from a producer and how detailed, and like, I always thought it was the actors that are, they're who we see. That's what we kind of base a movie off of. No, this is the behind the scenes. This is the visionary, and just how you have to work together with all the different parts to make a good movie. That honestly, if you don't know, you just don't know. But now that I do know, I have so much appreciation for that. Then I got to see Devon Sawa too from Casper.
Your high school crush?
No, it was my 12-year-old Kristen crush. But he was also he played in a music video for Stan, for Eminem, and hearing him talk about Eminem and 50 Cent, and like, he got to hang out with all these people. That's so cool.
Yeah, and then also the Final Destination series.
Yep. So
that was very complimentary of the new one. So
yes, and then being in Casper, well, then that next weekend, so last weekend, we got to go to Fan Expo. Christina Ricci was there, who was also in Casper, and I'm not like a huge Casper movie lover, but it was just cute because it was a fun one from, back in the day, and getting to hear her.
But you loved her in Now and Then.
Yes.
Which is
probably one of my favorite as a kid movies, me and my best friend Jessie. We have that whole movie memorized, but just hearing her talk and all the information she had to share. And then also to hear her, she sets boundaries, which is really neat, like with her interactions with fans. And so I don't know if all do that, but she was just very clear with her speaking. And I really appreciated, all that she said.
And I got to ask her a question.
You did.
And I kind of stumped her.
You did.
So that was cool. And I got to hear the crowd kind of, like when I said that, question.
What was the hardest acting part that you've had to basically prepare for? Because, and it was Yellow Jackets, which we just finished that series too. Loved it.
Yep.
But it, she did so well in that, and it was really fun watching her come back, or not come back, but just be in something.
She had an interesting take on that, because in most cases you do, like movies, you do a character and you're done usually. In some cases you're growing with the character. But what she said was, with Yellow Jackets, because there's so much space between the shooting of the show, and because it's split between young and old, the character doesn't really progress as much, and so it's hard to like get back. That's what's the most challenging about playing the role, is that she has to get back into that character in order to do it. Because we saw the other panel we went to was for Naruto, and that was one of the things that they said about the characters. Like they when they started out, they were very much like they were younger and they were playing it a certain way, and then they kind of grew with the character, and the character is getting older too. And so it's this natural kind of thing. And there's so many episodes that they're doing a season. With Yellow Jackets, it's 8, and then it's whenever they can get a new season out. That she said was most challenging, that and maybe anything with an accent. That was what she said. So it was cool to talk to her.
Yeah, definitely. And just cool that, like, as a person, you don't really necessarily think about that as you're evolving, your thoughts and your beliefs and your lifestyle to play the same character. They're not changing. You are. So just having that mindset. So that was really, really interesting to share that. And then all the vendors, oh my goodness, there were so many vendors. Yeah. I heard that there were over 20,000 people on Saturday alone, and we went Sunday. So we're going to try to go Saturday next year, but the kids had fun. They all dressed up. I put a post on my Instagram, so if y'all want to check it out, it's really cool.
Yeah, we'll share it this week. with this clip. I'll post it in the stories. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I made the kids dress up. We talked about it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. I said we're going to cosplay, and he said, "What?" And then they all agreed to it. They all looked up their costumes, and we went and found their costumes, and they were super excited. And then Kristen couldn't get in her costume, so
Too many
she got
gains,
to go
y'all.
as
Too many
mom.
gains.
She got to go as mom. And I had to dress up because I made the boys dress up. So I was like, all right, well, I'm still going to do it for them. If I'd had my druthers, I probably wouldn't have dressed up either, since you didn't dress up. But
You
it's
were
all good.
adorable in your Luke outfit.
Yeah, it was fun. I would say both weekends were fun for different reasons. I think seeing the more famous actors at Fan Expo was really cool. I got to see the cast of Smallville that were still there. Not all of them, but I got to see the ones that were still there on Sunday. And that was cool just to be able to see them. Seth Green was there, Anthony Daniels. So way higher on the totem pole of actors, like we're at Fan Expo. And then of course all the vendors were great too. We went to a couple panels. I think, if we were going by ourselves, we probably would have hit up more panels, but the boys it wasn't just their thing. And then the Frightmare was cool. We went all 3 days. And so it was like, we didn't feel rushed to have to do anything. And we kind of found our footing, the second day, getting in the panels and just getting that, because it was a smaller thing too, feeling like we could get more involved with it and kind of get closer to folks. And it was just a smaller crowd, so it was a different vibe, but still a lot of fun.
So fun. Definitely doing it again every year.
That's it's so wild, because I never thought that you'd be into it. So it was
me neither. So fun. It's one of those things. I'm in for experiences. It's something you love, and so I want to experience that with you, and turns out something I like too.
And I think the thing that is just exciting for me is I was a junior in high school when a guy named Jonathan Green introduced me to filmmaking and what it takes to make a film and all the aspects of it. He had graduated from high school, and he was on his way to head to film school in Savannah College of Art and Design. He now is a filmmaker. He makes films for different companies as not commercials, but more short films for that. And so he's doing that, following his career. But that kind of got me, and it was Mission Impossible actually that kicked off my love for creating films. And so then it was like, back then we'd buy the DVD, and the DVD would have bonus features, and some of those bonus features were behind the scenes stuff. And so I always just watched it and loved hearing how they did that, how they did that, how they did that. And so that just kind of sparked my love for it. So it's cool for me that you hearing what it takes from producer, sound engineer, and director of photography to go, oh wow, that actually inspired you to want to know more, or to respect movies even more, and your love for movies will from here probably grow, because you're seeing a little bit bigger picture of what it is, instead of just seeing it as a story on a screen. You're seeing, oh wow, there's so much more going on. So that's exciting for me that you're kind of going on that journey. So because I went on that journey as well. That's why I love film the way I do. Is it's like there's so much involved. There's so much that it takes to pull this stuff off. So
yeah, it was just really neat to hear it, and their personalities come through. So, but until next year.
That's right.
Or we just need to go find some more.
I know there's another one happening actually in Dallas in October. I looked at it. It's more the comic side. So it's like more Comic Con than it is like TV and film con, like Fan Expo was. But they haven't announced any guests or anything, but I'll look at it and see if there's anything there that sounds interesting. We could check it out.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And speaking of next year, well, we'll check you guys out next week. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Thanks for joining me, Kristen. This was a fun conversation, and hope you guys go out and see 28 Years Later Friday, and we'll see you there at the movies. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Again, you can check out all of our links at bio.site/movies that make you. Feel free to drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time, keep watching movies.